All right, we are back. The second part of this episode, because there's just so much juicy content to get into and we don't want to miss any of it. But we were just picking up right as we were talking about taking the second cup, which I did. And as I kind of sat back on my mat, what kind of journey ensued for us, and for me specifically. Like, I was already in the medicine, of course, but the second cup just recommits you in a whole new way. And for me, as I laid back and I was practicing all of the tools that I have learned up until this point, which I can't emphasize enough how important my personal work has been to prepare me for this experience. Because there is nothing like it that I've had, except my deepest psilocybin journey. So when I started to feel her presence, there was an interesting knowing that I had, sort of like you, and you're like, oh, I'm meant to do this. Like, don't you see how comfortable you are here? Yeah. For me, it was a sense of, one, this awareness that my soul is ancient. It's like old, and that I've done this before. This is not my first rodeo. Like, I have been here and I've done this. And then in that realm, in the multidimensionality of all of the realms that become accessible to you that are not perceivable through your conscious third dimensional reality here on planet Earth, like all of this other worldly, the universe opens up and you're able to access all of this, the unseen.
Yes.
Which is very real. We just don't perceive it with our conscious minds. And I understood that I'm ancient, that my soul cannot die, that my birth was a continuation of my life and my death will be a continuation of my life. And also this awareness that I've done this before. I've been here before, and there was a familiarity to it. It's like, don't you remember that this is where you come from? And so because of that, I knew it was a safe place to continue to explore, which is why I also took the second cup. And so as I did, that is when I said, come closer. Like, I trust you. But it's like, if you are in front of a lover or you're like starting to develop a relationship with someone and you're like, I like this, but like, come closer. That was the sense that I got. And she came. She certainly came. And the first, like I said, even though I purged on the first cup, it was playful and light. And I had visuals of like a circus and gesture. And it was interesting how it presented, a showing that life is like a circus and there's all these things happening and how playful it all is and how serious we take it and make it. And it was so light and beautiful. And I remember just having this smile painted across my face that I could not get rid of. And it was just almost like hurting me, but I was feeling such intense emotions, but I was like smiling through it. And one of the things was like, is gratitude. So as I took the second cup, she came close. And what I mean by that and how I experienced that is I got a unquenchable, like unfathomable chill. And they say when you get that, you start to feel that chill, she's here. Like, she is here. And it was everywhere. I was just shivering and shaking, and I had blankets, and I just like it was like I couldn't hold all of the energy. And she just came and she laid on top of me. And that's when I started to understand and to process the duality of life on earth in terms of pleasure and pain and darkness and light. And she was showing me the dance between these, the masculine and the feminine, fear and love. And that was the theme, was showing me the paradox of how this idea that we are finite beings, this idea that, because she spoke to me in words. Mm-hmm. Yes, I had visuals, but I processed through words. I processed through talking out loud. Mm-hmm. And so she would present as my voice, but it was not me. Mm-hmm. I knew her voice was it was uncontrollable. She would just come and she would speak, and it was not me. And she was showing me that time is infinite. Mm. We think of time as like we're here and like my age, and there will be a time when I'm born and that I die, and time happens in between that, and where I'm going is somewhere out in the future, and where I've been is somewhere in my past. And she was showing me the infinite now, like that time is only here right now, and that it goes on and it goes on and it goes on forever on this infinite loop. But yet everything has a beginning and everything has an ending. So it was like this infinite time loop, but also where am I at on this loop? Yeah. And so it would be presented to me in the sense of a purge, like, oh, there's all this discomfort and pain and I need to get it out. I would get it out, and then I would have relief. And then again, it was like all of the dust would settle. And the loop was, well, it will begin again, right? You think it's over, and it is. But just like the day, there's a morning, the sun will rise, and then the day will end and the sun will set. Well, there's another day that will come right after it. Yep. And so what she was showing me is like, all this too shall pass. The beauty, the grief, the discomfort, the pain, all of it. There's a season for all of it. And to not be afraid of it, because there's something after it. There's something that comes after it, always. And when you're in this space, whether you're in the medicine or you're in your own journey and you're like, I am living in a hell that I think will go on and on forever. Like I'm just disconnected from myself. I'm not happy. I lack purpose. I feel lost. I don't know how I'm ever going to find love. That is like this dark night of the soul, right? It's like the dark night is where you think like, how long will this last? If you've ever like struggled to go to sleep at night and you're just fighting yourself and you can't surrender to the sleep, and you're just at battle with your own mind and it's keeping you up. It's like that, but on a multidimensional level. And you're like, you're not going to escape this until you surrender to it. Yes. Yep. And there was a moment for me that I was like, how long is this going to last? It's so intense. It's so much. The energy moving through me feels so insane. How long is this going to last? I don't, and she said, it will last as long as you need it to, for you to get the answers that you came for. So I was like, okay, let me get these answers. Okay. So now I'm here to receive. Like, I'm not here to like figure it out. I'm just here to receive and surrender and let go. And what I become, who I become on the other side of it, I have no idea. I have no idea what will be on the other side of this purge or on the other side of this experience, or how I will arise out of these ashes, literally, because I was metaphorically felt like I was a pile of ashes going into this experience. And there was like these embers of my life and of my soul and of like my purpose and my passion that were still underneath, that were still on fire. But this just like lit me back up in such an intense way. So that was like a big part of it, because I continued to purge in my second cup and move so much energy. And a big part of that was understanding time and the reality that we live in and in this world, and how to be so present. She taught me about how to manage and discipline my mind. And I know you have a big part of like, that was part of your journey too, but she showed me that what you focus on, you get more of. And she was trying to show me that I am in charge of where I put my attention and where I put my focus. She showed me that you have a choice. You have a choice of if you focus on fear and you focus on what you don't want and you focus on the discomfort and you focus on the pain, or you focus on love. And it was this complete transformation of my whole journey was a transformation of fear to love. Of all the things I was scared of, Mother Ayahuasca will bring those to you. She will address your fears head on, because those are the things that control you, and how to come back to gratitude. So in the darkest moments where I was like, this is intense. I don't know if I can handle this. My prayer and the words that it was just, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you.
That's a lifesaver.
So much gratitude.
Yeah.
That was like one of the things I wrote down is gratitude for everything, especially the hard parts. Because leading up to this ceremony, I had been through such a hard season. And I had sort of gotten into a period of like, poor me, like pity party, like feeling sorry for myself. Why me? Why did this happen to me? Why? Like feeling like it was just all this cosmic joke that I was going through this stuff that felt so intense and hard and like, oh, like poor me. And then she showed me, it's like, oh my God, the amount of gratitude. It changed it all from feeling bad for myself to feel like celebrating everything I just been through, because it's like, all of this is for you. All of this you think is against you is making you into the woman that you're meant to be. And I came out of this experience not regretting or wanting to change any part of my story. And that was such a transformation for how I went in. And it was shown to me through this like infinite time loop that like these things will end. And then there's always more. There's like, there are levels to this. And how deep do you want to heal? Do you want to heal just on the mental level, and the cognitive level? Or do you want to go deeper into your body, into your soul, into your spirit, like into all these other realms?
Yeah, that's huge. So huge.
It was intense. Yeah, it was really, really intense because I didn't understand how much fear was controlling my life until this, because it showed me that I can embrace and celebrate and be thankful for the things that have happened that are hard, but like those things don't define me. So the way in which she showed me how to control my mind was understanding, like I would hear someone else purge or hear someone else's experience. Cause there was times where the room would go silent.
That silence is unlike no other.
So there was no music, and there was intentional periods of silence because that also moves energy. And you would hear people start to purge. And it was in the silence that I was learning how to be okay with the stillness in the present moment. It was forcing me. So it was forcing me to be like, this is all that there is. And there's nothing to disrupt it, because the silence would go on. And it was an extended period of silence where you're waiting for some sound to come and disrupt it.
Give me the next song.
Anything to disrupt this experience. Yeah. And you're like, no, you're in the infinite moment of now, and just be with whatever comes up, whatever comes up, whatever comes up, whatever. Because instead of wanting something to distract you or change it or take you away from this experience, it was showing me be with it. And then something would move in me and I would purge, or someone else would purge. And it was showing me, if I would focus on someone else's experience, how my experience would change, because my mind would go there and it would take me into this whole new experience. And so I was being shown how to bring it back to myself and how to stay in my own lane and stay in the energy of my own experience versus merging with someone else, because that's what I'd always done in my life.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's like a big boundaries lesson, right?
Yeah.
And then also being so caring for people that you're kind of like, oh man, like,
I want to save you from your experience.
I want to save you, but you can't. You're here to do your own work, essentially. Just like the spiritual journey in itself, right? You can't save anybody, no matter how much you want to. And that was a big theme also in my relationship, right? I want to save you, but I can't. I can only trigger you and show you things that you need to work on, but you got to do the work yourself. And if you don't choose to, then that's outside of my hands. As much as it hurts, as much as everything, right? It's very tough, even for family, relationships, friends, whatever. You want the absolute best for people, but if they don't choose to dive into the work, there's a big chance that you guys are going to go separate ways.
Well, because my experience is like your frequencies just don't match anymore.
100%. Yep.
You just can't, you're trying to bridge this huge communication gap because like you're literally just on different stations. On like a radio station, somebody's on freaking country and you're playing, I don't know, some spiritual other station, and you don't hear each other because you're playing different music.
Yep.
And for me, it was also learning that like we're all instruments, and when you play out of tune is like when you're out of alignment with your truth and who you are, and you play music that is not beautiful and it's ugly and it hurts people and you hurt other people. And it's like this whole process was like tuning my instrument, tuning my inner like song and the song that I'm meant to sing, like what is my dharma that I'm meant to like show up in the world. And this was like an attunement of my instrument. Yeah.
A big closing of chapters, essentially, right? To level up into what we came here to be.
Well, the closing always,
the grand closing
is the beginning of something else.
Yes.
It's like letting go is not the ending. Yes. It's the beginning.
It's because it's, it's damaging to hold on to it, right? No matter what we want an experience to be, what we want people to be, you start to realize again that things come in seasons, and people are also seasons in your life. Yeah. And that's what happened for me, the remaining portion of the ceremony.
Yeah, tell me about that.
Well, it was more initially like, all right, cool. Like, we're going to dazzle you. We're going to show you these things. We're going to have fun with you. We're going to do some surgery for you. Awesome. Great. Amazing. And then going into the second round of the ceremony, they were like, it literally, how I saw them was like a couple of the entities or the jesters, right? The fractal jesters, they kind of like had this big board essentially. And they were kind of like hiding behind it. And they were like, all right, we've been having fun with you. Now we're going to do some work. And we know you've had this on the back of your mind, but now we're going to really put it in front of you. And we're going to show you that this needs to be closed out. So coming out of a separation relationship, right? I was essentially showed me and my partner at the time, and I was still not fully in the surrender of that chapter closing and kind of being like, no, like things will change, blah, 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 right? Because of how things are or things were at one point. And I knew leading up to it, as much as I wanted to fight it, that was just a chapter that needed to be closed. And they essentially showed me that photo of us, and they were like, all right, like you've been holding on to this, you've been coming to a close. Thank this individual, your partner at the time, for the lessons they came to. But this season has to close now, and you need to make peace with it. So I was like, all right, I guess I'm ready, right? Yeah, I'm absolutely ready. And they were like, outside of once you close this, and then they brought in pictures of other people. They were like, you can have relationships in your life like this. This is what's on the other side of that decision. Let's close this chapter. And even though it was very emotional and tragic for me to come out of that separation and go that route of change, I've always been one to be all in on my relationships, right? That's just me coming from divorced parents. I'm the chain breaker in that, and I want a family. I want all those things, right? I want that passion. I had to close it because it was not meant to move forward. Yeah. So leading up to that, I was still wearing my ring.
Yeah. So y'all were engaged?
We were engaged.
Yeah. And you also wore a ring?
Yeah. So I would still wear it, right? Just kind of like, I don't know what's going to happen, right? It is what it is. We'll see.
Like holding on to the hope that
I'll keep myself closed off either way. Like, yeah, I'm super,
get back together.
I'm crazy loyal. Like, I'm like, get away from me. If somebody
not available for
at a
anything
restaurant else says, have a good day, I'm like, nah, I'm not like not that extreme. But yeah, it just, so
you were still very much committed to her.
I was holding on, yes. Even though in reality, that separation was what it was. and just kind of processing and looking back on all the things, right? Because again, nothing but thanks for all the lessons. And there was definitely a lot of lessons and growth in that. So no ill feelings, no nothing like that moving forward. But there was a focus suddenly on my ring. The energy around it was just like pulsating. And I was like, I know what I need to do right now. And my hand went on autopilot, grabbed it, and I laid it to the side. And then I was just like, thank you for the lessons. Thank you for the growth. Thank you for the triggers on the final work that I need to do. And I'm ready to keep moving forward. And that was that. That was the closing of that portion. And the acceptance of that, they started to show me things in my family. My parents, there started to be focuses on that, like everybody, my siblings, and how all that just tied together. Every single experience from my childhood, just in a quick slide, just do. But I was able to process it in that moment. When you're deep in medicine, it's a little bit different, right? But looking back at it now, it's like I don't even know how I understood that.
Yeah.
Yeah, coming out of that was the biggest thing for me. And then I kind of went back to my feather again. It came too, because every time I would close my eyes, knowing that you were on the left side of me, and then also our other friends a little bit further in front of us, the way I saw you guys was your light body. And
yeah, it was like on your feminine side too, which is like on your left.
Essentially, yeah. So how I saw you every time I closed my eyes, and I would see all these fractals and all these different entities, right, still interacting with me, but I would see you laying there, and when you would be in your purge or you would be laughing, I just saw your light body. Like, if you look at the chakras and all the different colors, I essentially saw you in that space. Like, crazy. And then it's so wild. And then I would see our other friend over there too as well, like saw like a little beam of light, right? Like I could see your guys' energy bodies, and I was just like, again, just moving energy for everybody. And then coming out of that, and that was my biggest acceptance, my biggest thing to surrender to during that experience. Because again, they're like, yeah, we want to play with you. We're going to be cool. We're going to be gentle for a little bit, but now we're going to go to the work and what needs to be done. And then coming out of that, moving energy in the room, and then I just started getting super excited again. And I was like, man, like I'm here connecting with the feather, with everything like that. And I was just like, man, I appreciate it so much. Thank you so much for connecting with me and showing me this. And these are the gifts that I was being told that I was going to receive.
So interesting, because it's like on the other side of the thing that you fear most, which is like maybe letting go of a love or letting go of what you think life was going to look like, right? The way you had planned it, the way you think it should be.
Yeah.
And your spiritual path and like your soul's curriculum is like, you think you know, but like this needs to go in a new direction.
Yeah.
And that can be like your worst fear, is letting go of the control of your life in terms of, I have this destination and we're going to be together. This is the way it's going to look like. And life is out, like asking you to trust that there's more than that. And that's been a continual lesson. I feel like life has been asking me for years. When I left relationships in the past, when I started to travel alone, when I started my business and left the certainty and the familiarity of the corporate world. Every time you step into something new, you have to let the old die.
Yep.
And that's the scariest place for people, because you don't know what's on the other side. But in the unknown it's like all your worst fears. It's also all the possibilities and miracles and all of the things you hope for and dream about. And so when that experience in your life, like it's like this wave that comes and it like crests, and then a wave is fucking powerful. You know, it like can destroy you, but also you can fucking ride that shit and it's like going to take you in a whole new direction.
Yep.
But it's when that energy starts to crest and you're like, am I going to move with this or am I going to fight it? Because you're fighting a power bigger than you. The ocean mother, God, like Gaia, the power. And that's what she showed me. Like she presented herself as Mother Nature. And when I think about the depths and the power of like water and of the ocean, it's like I'm little me is up against this massive, intense force that can destroy me, or it can create so much newness and so much life. But it's that moment where you're like, am I going to take the ring off? Or is the moment where you're like, am I going to let this thing die? That is so confronting for people.
Yeah.
And for me, as you're having this whole experience, I'm having a completely separate experience where I'm like, I was shown a relationship I had and our soul dynamic and the tie that our souls had. And also the way in which I couldn't fully trust that experience and that connection. And the way in which I was held back and held myself back because of the lack of trust that was there. And then how this whole new thing can enter into your life. And you're like, this is a reference point for trust. And so it was interesting. Like you and I had this moment. When was it? After the second cup?
It was after the second cup. I think it was after like a few times where I had already been shown what I needed to work on officially the most in that. And then after that, kind of just again, seeing you guys and then feeling everybody going through their stuff. And then like the explosion of
there was like
life.
So much life and energy that happened. He and I like had this moment where there was like this ball of explosive energy that just like happened.
Vibrant color.
It was
like,
wild.
It was nuts. It was like basically, so I'm here, she's here. And where I saw it was like in the center of us. Right. And I don't know, I had to check with Tori after it happened because it was like the explosion of light. My eyes were completely closed. And then I just saw this explosion of energy. I felt the energy as well. And then I just saw the colors, the vibrant colors. And I was like, Tori, did you just see that right now?
Yeah.
And you just started laughing. And I was like, oh.
We're like, what just happened?
I was
like, did you just become my best friend? Like, did we just like get connected forever? Like what happened?
It instantly felt like that. Like the connection between us like exploded.
Yeah, it was
right.
wild.
It was a feeling of safety, of, I like to say home, right? How psychedelics feel, they take you back home. And I was just laughing. Like it was like, crazy. I was like, I've never experienced anything like that in my life.
So it was like such a reference point for me of like reestablishing what I know as like safety and trust in my body. Because I had gotten to a point where I was like, I don't even know if I trust myself. Like, I don't trust like, I think I know what I need. I think I know I'm taking care of myself. But like now I look back over the course of the last couple of years and there have been ways I've been neglecting myself. There's ways I've been avoiding, I've been like changing myself to make this other thing work, you know? And now I was in this moment where I was being received for like all that I am. And there was and that was like being celebrated in this like burst of energy. It was like, this is what you can, like you don't have to filter yourself. And that was such a powerful moment because it was this shift out of, it was like coming back home to like my internal power and knowing of who I am. And I came out of this entire experience feeling so strong in my being. Like I was like, in hindsight, so much, it was like a strengthening of my core essence of who I am. But to get there, it takes, it's a journey and it's like, doesn't come easy.
Yeah.
I say to people like, do not do ayahuasca or plant medicine or psychedelics in this way. Like I understand people do them recreationally and you can have a beautiful experience in nature and get a lot of insight, whatever. We're talking about doing it in ceremony, with a clear intention, with the sacred medicine, inside your own mind, inside your own,
and
like,
a guide.
With a guide.
With a guide. And
the difference in that. And it's next level. And I said, like, this is not something you do for fun.
No.
It is not a fun experience.
Yeah, because it's something to be treated with respect, because if you don't, it will show you
your lack of reverence
your lack
for
of
life.
Yeah, and you won't go back to it. And then that's something that sadly is happening a lot because people don't go in there prepared or with the wrong information. and they'll be thrown away from something that could absolutely change their life.
Yeah.
Just from a lack of respect. Yeah.
A couple of other things I had written down. I just want to see if there's anything I missed. Yeah, gratitude is a huge piece of this. Say thank you. So say thank you to the people who hurt me because they've taught me what I deserve. So part of it was like thanking the hardest experiences of my life, including the people and situations, because I am who I am, instead of like holding grudges or unforgiveness or anything like that. Is like, thank you. Thank you for the role you've played. Thank you for the lessons you've taught me. Thank you for the grief I experienced because it showed me my capacity to love.
Yes.
You know, I am so grateful for my ability to feel at such a deep level. The contrast between all of these emotions, because my ability to feel that much pain is a mere reflection of how much joy and bliss and love I can experience. And the beauty is ayahuasca gave me that. She didn't just show me the capacity to feel pain. She showed me my capacity to feel love. And there was a moment where, because she taught me so much about time and our time spent here and how sacred each moment is, and every person I meet and every interaction is a moment for a miracle to happen if I'm that aware of it. There was a moment I dipped into, this is going to sound so crazy. I was able to perceive eternity and infinity in the sense of what it's like to perceive infinite time that goes on, like that it will never end. And therefore infinite love, which is the one principle and primary thing that exists. Like, it's love. Everything else is a delusion of my mind and a fracturing of my perception. But like, it showed me infinite love. And it was so intense and so overwhelming because the conscious mind, our human minds aren't built to understand that. We can't comprehend eternity. And I peered in there and I was like, wow, my human mind would go into psychosis if I tried to understand this. I'm not, but it showed me that is real. That is where I come from. And that is what I will return to.
Yep.
And that is that is the truth of everything. Yeah. And our human experience is all about returning to that truth. Like, we have forgotten that we come from love and that we're connected to an infinite source of love, and therefore protection and guidance. And for me, it was this whole circle of remembering, like, that's who I am and that's where I come from. And I am not cut off from that.
Right.
Like, I'm only limited with how much love I can receive and how much love I can get to the degree that I believe I'm separated from that source. And that was like wild, because it showed me that, like, in my mother's womb, our mothers are like God. They are our source of life. We come from our birthed and formed in our mother's womb, and we are connected to her through the umbilical cord, where she nourishes us and gives us life, sustains our life. And then we are birthed into this 3D plane, and our cord is cut, literally severed from our mother, which is our source of life. And our entire lives, we are searching to, how do we get reconnected to that source? And Mother Aya she's showing me, like, I'm here. You're never disconnected from me. Yeah. And she is the earth, and she is the spirit, and she is the feminine, divine mother love that I have been trying to reconnect with since I was born.
Yeah. Yeah, she definitely feels like infinite love for sure.
Yeah.
Because they also describe her as like a grandmother, right? She's going to give you that tough love too when you need it.
Oh, yeah.
It's not all going to be sunshine and rainbows. No. You're gonna do some work, but it's also for the ultimate better of you at the end of the day. All this spiritual work is definitely something that, you know, as soon as you stop running away and you surrender to that and you realize again that seasons, people, everybody serves a literal purpose, even the random guy that you've crossed the road with, like everybody is a part of this grand orchestra that's being played for you in your journey.
There's a book that I can't recommend enough for those who are interested in understanding like soul contracts and the way in which we have this idea of having a curriculum, like that your soul chose to learn some lessons in this life. And there were people who agreed to be on your path with you to help teach you these lessons, whether it be your mom or your dad or that person that broke your heart or that teacher in school that it's like there's an agreement that has been in place long ago that we would all interact in these ways to help us learn certain things. And there's a book I highly recommend if you're interested in that helped me for this to understand and integrate this at a deeper level, which is called Sacred Contracts by Carolyn Myss. She also wrote a book called Anatomy of the Spirit, which is incredible. So I highly recommend that book because it helps you understand what she was showing me. It was like these soul contracts, like these, that me and these people in my life, there is a contract in place for us to teach each other things. Mm-hmm. And instead of hating that or resisting that, or it showed me why there's been certain dynamics at play and why there's been hardship or things that have happened and how all of that was actually serving me versus something I needed to hate because I can't heal what I hate.
Right. Yep.
So it brought so much acceptance into those parts that I was still like really hurting from.
Yeah, I think that's been a big lesson for me too. Just kind of getting back to myself more completely is kind of like no matter what people come at me with, I have realized that everybody's going through their own thing, right? Everybody's dealing with their own stuff. So when somebody comes at you with an attitude or something like that, I'm like, I meet it with love now. Yeah. Depending on how far or how crazy they're going to get with you, right? Obviously.
I mean, there are ways to stand up for yourself.
100%. Yeah. But it's just kind of like, you're dealing with something. I wish you the absolute best in finding your peace. And that's it. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't have to go beyond that.
So that brings me to something else that came up in my journey, which is what I perceived as an entity that came into my experience at one point. It felt like death. Is what it was. I opened my eyes at one point after the second cup. And I saw the shaman standing there, but it wasn't him. It was like death. And it was dark, but it had a face. It had a white face and it was moving towards me and it was coming at me. And again, this was part of the teaching of mental mastery and what you focus on, you get more of, and how to direct my attention, my focus. And I saw it and I initially was overcome with fear. And I turned away and I actually grabbed your hand and I put my like face on your knee because you were sitting. Yeah. And I put my like face on your knee. Yeah. And I just kept saying, thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm safe. I'm loved. I'm safe. Yep. And I went back to like in my journal, I was like, turn toward, lean in. I am safe. It's safe to surrender. And I just kept saying like, I'm safe. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Because it was this intense, dark presence. And I focused on light and love and it dissipated and it left. And the whole time you're like tuned in with me, moving all of this energy. You could tell I'm going through something. Yes. And it was this intense like confirmation that I have a choice. I have a choice of what I focus on. I can be overcome with this fear. I can let that be my focus and be thrown into this cycle of being afraid. And what it was teaching me also was that our fears are what control us. This thing wanted to control me and it didn't. I turned and I chose love. I chose safety. I chose light. Yep. But as I've been integrating after this experience, it's been showing me like your fears are what control you. And so if you can start if you can deal with your fears, if you can handle your fears, if you can heal from your fears, and the opposite of fear is love. If you can bring those into the light, because this is the shadow aspect of it, and you can see it with love, and you can perceive it with love, that it wants to be loved, it wants to be received and welcomed, then it won't have the same control on you. And so since then, I've been really focused on leaning in and becoming more aware of the things I'm scared of, which are like, for many people, probably similar. Like we all have similar fears, but like I wrote in my prayer, I was like, help me to not be afraid. That was like part of my prayer. Help me to not be afraid. Because if you've ever been so afraid for your life, it is a feeling you never want anyone to ever feel, and you never want to feel again. So I started to write down, like, what am I afraid of? And I wrote until it just felt empty. And I was like, afraid of loss, afraid of being alone, afraid of the unknown, afraid of darkness, afraid of being rejected, of being forgotten, of being replaced, of not being good enough, of surrender, of death, of judgment, of being misunderstood, of not being liked, of love being taken away, of being unimportant, of getting in trouble, of losing control of myself. And that's what it came down to. It was like, I'm afraid of myself, because the thing I'm afraid of is not outside of me. Like, all of this is inside of me, and I'm experiencing it through my own the story I'm telling about. Like, if I'm rejected or if I'm alone, it's the story that I'm telling myself about being alone or being rejected that is hurting me, not the fact that this person isn't in my life anymore. It's the story that I've attached to it. And so that entity, that visual experience of seeing death and seeing what I'm afraid of and choosing something new was the beginning of realizing that fear doesn't have to control my life. And that I can choose to bring it into the light and see it through a completely different lens, and actually celebrate it and learn from it and be grateful for it.
Yeah, that's huge. Yeah. So, I also experienced something similar to that, where I was tested in my own experience, right? Like, it started off very playful, did a little bit of work, still an absolutely beautiful and peaceful experience for me, other than what I thought it would be. There was a couple of the facilitators that are moving around the room, checking on people, and the way that people move during medicine is wild, right? You just having your experience with seeing that entity, and it kind of bringing it back to you on self-mastery, the ability to control where your thoughts are at. Same experience for me. I saw one of the facilitators walking around, and I could just feel her in my peripheral right side begin to focus on me. And mind you, it's completely dark, a couple candles lit in the room. She showed up after ceremony was already started, so I never saw what this woman looked like completely. So she was just a shadow to me, essentially walking around and checking on people. So out of my mind, I started to come out of that happy space. I started to feel the hyper focus of her looking at me and watching me, and it started to feel dark. And I set up. I just got into protector mode, because I've always been that since I was a kid, right? Anybody that's around me, automatically, that's the warrior in me. Like, I'm going to protect all of you right now.
Yes,
don't worry, step back, let me do the work.
Yes.
And in that space, again, Feather came back to me full force, like grabbed the sword of Excalibur, like, right? Like, grabbed it, started moving the energy, and then I acknowledged her. And in my head, I said it in a very loud voice in my head, right? My voice was profound. I said, I recognize you. I see you, but I can feel your energy. I can feel your power. Obviously, you here as a facilitator and helper, you've gone very deep, and you hold power as well, but so do I. So I just started laughing. I was like, I acknowledge you, but I'm not here for you. So just kept moving the energy, got back to myself, got back to my experience, but she just kept picking at my mind, like she wanted my attention. So I was just like, man, like, what is going on? Like, I was like, does anybody else feel this in the room right now? Because when you feel energy in that room, right, it's very potent. and it can throw you off, or you can ground yourself and control yourself. So at that point, I was like, wait, this is my initiation. This is a test right now. And suddenly our head facilitator disappeared. I didn't see him anymore. He was just black in the curtains, right? Gone. And suddenly, from her standing on the right side of the room to me, she moved. I closed my eyes, and then suddenly she's over there right in front of me, sitting all the way across the room, but she's just focused on me, sitting in the same meditation pose that I'm sitting in. And again, I just acknowledged, and I was like, what do you want? And I was like, again, I understand and I feel your energy. You're very powerful, but so am I. So I'm going to go back to what I was doing. And I just started to feather you again, and then send it away to all of our other friends and everybody else in that room. And I just kept alchemizing that energy in the room and getting back to my center and realizing, like, wait, this is my initiation. Like, it's all good. Like, I understand what you guys are doing right now. You guys are testing me. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to get back to myself. I appreciate the lesson. I acknowledge you 100%, but I'm not here for any of that.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. Because again, dealing with that so many times in other experiences, I don't fear it. I do get the sense of fear as it is attached to that, because it's the unknown, right? It's a lower vibration. So fear is always attached to a low vibration. I accepted it for what it was. I made peace, and I got back to the ceremony and closed out. And it was just a reality check, or a quick check-in, like, hey, like, let's see where you're at. Like, you're being tested right now, but we're going to give you a pretty hard test right now.
Yeah. So
get back to your center and let me show that. And then also Obsidian's words came back, get back to the breath.
The breath.
Drink some water, because I had gone a period of time with drinking no water, just being so deep in the medicine. And then as soon as I took that first drink of water again, that energy moved and cleared.
Yeah.
And then about 30 minutes after that, our leader and savior came back and was like, we're going to close it up now. And I was like, oh,
I made it. Yeah, that was,
it.
I mean, just to reemphasize, like, your work as protector and like that part of you that exists very strongly. I feel that so deeply. And that was one of the reasons, like, you were so in your purpose as this warrior protector, like the spirit of protection that like you live and like you embody, which for the feminine and for as a woman is amazing, because it's like I can relax. It makes me feel like I am safe to relax and to receive, and I'm going to be taken care of. I know how to take care of myself, but there's like the essence of like this masculine presence that is here that I will like go to war for you if needed.
Absolutely.
And that's like such a powerful, it's such a powerful dance for you to be able to tap into that, but also to be able to stay soft and also receive.
Yeah.
Like you step up and you'll do what's necessary, but you're also able to experience like your feminine where you're able to receive and get what you need too.
Yeah, I received a lot that, I'm meant to do a lot of work with Divine Feminine in this lifetime for that reason. I take it.
You're healing so many of the women in our friend group.
I am
your presence.
Like honored for that.
Yeah.
The first time a couple of our friends expressed that to me, that they're like, brother, we feel safe around you and we appreciate your presence. I cried. Because especially now for men, and the struggle for a lot of men not being able to like respect women, it's so crazy. It's so crazy, but I understand the root of it and what they've most likely experienced to get them to where they're at and the way they show up for women and things like that, right? It's all inner work that needs to be done. And I take great pride in it. And the work, the amount of work, the shadow work I've had to do to be able to show up as who I am now. I'm excited. I'm very excited for the lives that I'm going to impact, not only as feminine, but masculine as well, to show them that this is perfectly safe. Like there's another you on the other side of all that. And that's why I'm able to show love to people as well when they come to me wrong. Because I may seem very peaceful and centered, but when it comes to that time, being a mixed martial artist as well, I will show you that you don't want to see that side of me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? 100%. But again, now being in a more mature space, unlike me in my earlier 20s where I was fighting all the time, not having an issue with that, leading by ego and not being afraid to put pressure on people like that in my younger years. Now having the peace and the control of it, it's like, okay.
Yeah.
Like, are you sure?
I mean, because
people would love, right?
Yeah, because I've experienced that with you. That's why I'm like all in on working with you in these ceremonial processes, because you hold it down spiritually in these alternative dimensions and realms. Like, you're so solid and you've had such experience, and you create that space. I mean, we all do. We both do with the work that we've done. But like, I really trust you to hold that space of safety for the people inside the containers that you and I offer, because it's so important. And I know the other thing, as we like took a break and came back, I should have said this at the beginning, but if you're still listening to that and you're like, these people sound crazy, I get it. Because if you had asked me 5 years ago if I would be sitting here talking about ayahuasca, I didn't even know what ayahuasca was. I grew up thinking I was going to ministry, church girl, good girl, drugs are bad. They will lead you to be homeless and broke and in a dark place you never want to be in. I had no idea the judgment that I had for this work. I didn't even know this work like medicinally existed. I thought everything as it pertained to substances was bad. And I had so much judgment around it.
Yeah.
And what the work of my heart has been, and the soul work I'm here to do, is to release judgment. And the parts of me that are judging are the parts of me that are just afraid.
Yeah.
Like, that are just afraid. And if I can go into and start to get curious about, why am I so judgmental of this? Why am I so afraid of this? Why do I have all these stories that tell me this is wrong or bad? Do I have any reference point that might not be the case? And I learned this from Byron Katie's work, where it's basically this questioning process of your belief system, where it's like, I think X is bad. Well, is it? And she asks, is it really true? Is that whatever belief you have, men can't be trusted, or ayahuasca is bad, or this, whatever it might be. She's like, ask the question, is this really true? And you know that this is true 100%. Meaning, I had no reference points for people who are using this sacred medicine in safe ways. I didn't know people who were contributing to society and actually making a difference in the world were using these substances in safe ways. I didn't have a reference. I thought everybody that was doing this stuff was crazy strung out and their life was going nowhere. Right. And I had no idea. And so to sit here now, and I know the way what we're saying sounds off the wall, and it is for the average person, 100%. But what I've come to realize is I don't want to be average.
Right.
I'm afraid of average. I don't want to be normal. Our normal culture and society is sick. We are sick. We are in debt. We are overweight. We are addicted. We are numb. We are not a healthy society. And there is wisdom. The wisdom keepers, these indigenous tribes and people who've been working with this medicine for thousands and thousands of years, is allowing us to access truth in a way that we've never done before, and true healing. And the earth is trying to give us healing. Yes. It's trying to heal us as we continue to damage her. She's still bringing us what we need and still continues to supply us and take care of us. And that was one of the other things that like just came so clearly through my journey, is like to take care of the earth, to honor her, to take care of her, to thank her. I mean, everything we need is supplied for. The oxygen that we breathe, the water that we drink, the fact that we pay for these things are crazy. And like our culture, it's insane. Yeah. But we have what we need, and let's bless her and take care of her, because she showed me her, like Mother Ayahuasca showed me herself as Mother Nature, as the tree of life, that everything is birthed in the darkness as a seed, the seed of potential that then gets nourished and grows into this thing that produces so much life.
Yes.
But man, so many of us are afraid to go into the darkness. And like the season that I was in before this I was being planted. Like I was being planted, and that happens in the depths of your own like psyche and your own story and your own journey, and sometimes in darkness. But you have to trust that your experiences are nourishing you, the relationships of people, like look at your environment, who's feeding you.
Right.
Because that will determine what you grow into. If something isn't like, if a seed doesn't grow into what it's meant to, you don't ask what's wrong with the seed. You ask what's wrong with the environment.
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah. That's so wild. Yeah. You definitely have to check your circle 100%, because I think, again, going back to society and where we're at right now, people just follow the crowd, right? And they get lost in that. You got to break away. And again, coming from the crossroads of my biggest, loss, losing my daughter, and being at that crossroads where it was like, okay, if I stay here in Arizona doing what I'm doing, already literally suicidal because of losing her, right? And all the stuff in my earlier childhood that was just wrecking me, and I just could not make peace with it because I was stuck in the chaos. I never gave myself a break, substance, lost and all that. I wasn't able to see it. But finally being at that crossroads and making that jump where it was like, okay, again, if I don't leave, I'm either going to be dead or locked up. And I wouldn't be here right now sharing this story or being able to impact all the people I'm supposed to impact. I knew in my gut making that jump was going to be the hardest thing ever, but the most rewarding.
Yeah.
And I went all in on the work after that. And I do not regret any of it. I also honor myself for the strength that it took to move through that, right? Because it's not just, again, the situations that gave us that. It's us and our courage and our strength to push forward and go through that.
You have to choose it. You have to choose it. And it's like, I think about that choice. It's a choice point. It's a crossroads. You're like, I'm going to continue down this path I've been on, or I'm going to do something different that I've never done before. And I don't know what's going to happen, but I know where this is not leading me anywhere good. This is not going to lead me to where I want to go. And so I've got to take this other path. And the courage that it takes to do that is what will define where your life goes. Ultimately, it really will. And you might have multiple of those crossroads in your life. When you're considering a relationship, you're considering committing to something or leaving something, job, family, all of these moments where you're like, this can be a life-changing moment if I choose for it to be, and this can make all the difference. And so I have so much compassion for people who are facing that decision, because it takes, just like taking that second cup of ayahuasca for me, it took every bit of courage I had to say yes to it, because I didn't know it was going to come. But has brought me the most love and the most, all of the things that I want are on the other side of that choice, on the other side of that decision. And if you continue to do the same thing you've always done, you'll continue to get what you've always got. Yep. If you want new results, you got to do something you've never done before. And we say all that to say it's not easy. It's not an easy choice. Yep. It's not, it's far from easy. What's easy is to do what is familiar, even if it's hurting you.
Yep.
At least you know, and it's predictable because you're being asked to step into something that's completely unpredictable.
Yeah, that's a big thing too. I want to highlight just for anybody diving into a spiritual journey is like, there's a lot of peace and love in this, but that comes outside of the shadow work.
100%.
There's a lot of things you have to confront, and that's what psychedelics allow you to do, is to really sit there with all these experiences. Not everybody has dealt with trauma, whatever it may be, right? Relationship release, the list goes on. But just being able to sit there in front of whatever you've been trying to run away from.
The mirror.
The mirror. And really make peace with that. It allows you to, again, make peace and then move forward and then step on to the next thing, because the work is never done. But
there's levels.
You feel absolutely liberated after every real intentional session with the psychedelic.
Yeah. And now I can find myself sharing in my private, relationships. I know I haven't publicly shared everything I've been through lately. Again, one day I will, but in the privacy of my own close relationships, I'm definitely sharing and talking about this. And I'm able to do it in a way. I over the weekend, I was with some girls, and there was one girl there who didn't know about some of the things that had happened to me recently. And I shared it with her. And there were other girls who were there for the whole process. And she was like, it's crazy the way you're talking about this, because you're so not detached, but I'm free.
Yep. Yeah.
And I can talk about it and speak about it from a place of liberation and freedom, that this thing doesn't have a hold on me and doesn't control me, because I've processed it. And these things like psychedelics, whether it's ayahuasca or psilocybin or so many others, we're just naming a couple, that accelerate that process. And it has accelerated my healing, which without these things, and I'm not saying they're necessary, and they're certainly not they're not for everyone. Let me say that this is us not saying you should go out and do ayahuasca in any way, shape, or form. This is just our sharing of our experience, because it's certainly not for everybody. And there are certainly people who should not do this. But it has been an assistant and an accelerator for me, that I don't know where I would be, you know, in my healing and in my liberation, my freedom without it. I'm not saying it's definitely been a huge assistant.
Yeah.
Me. Yeah.
Yeah. Alongside your strength. Cause again, I honor you for the way you show up. And that's why I'm also excited for the work that we're about to do, because from what you express about me and how I impact the room, I get the same exact thing from you.
Thank you.
You know what I mean? There's a lot of compassion, safety, everything. And just getting outside or getting on the other side of the work that you've done for yourself, you want that for everybody.
I do.
So when people show up and we can actually walk with people, I'm here for it. That's my life's purpose.
Yeah, same.
And I'm very excited.
We've been to the depths of our own pain and darkness to be able to be the light for other people. Exactly. And that's what you and I are committed to doing together in our ceremonial work with medicine. It is the purpose of what it's why we're here. And that's what we're really excited about. I do want to talk about integration quickly, and what life looks like on the other side of an experience like this, and how you're integrating the lessons, and what does that look like? How do you take care of yourself in the aftermath of such an intense experience? Right. Yeah.
So the biggest thing, obviously, there is a diet suggested leading up to it, right? You kind of need to follow the same basis. Intuitively, your body will tell you exactly what you need to be clean. Coming out of like a 3-4 day fast, just being intentional on what you're eating was a big thing for me too. Not going back to processed foods, things like that. Yeah. And slowly starting to eat again, right? Like I literally I dropped weight because of it, right? And I was fine with that. Me being somebody that's extremely in the gym, and it was a struggle for me to accept that at one point, but I'm like, I could rebuild myself at any point. I needed to do this for myself to get back to myself and show up 100% me. So, just being intentional on following through with my initial intentions. Having to release the relationship again was the biggest highlight of the lesson. And following that, doing what I had to do, removing pictures, removing different things, purging, crying. Cause I didn't purge like I thought I would, obviously initially, but afterwards the emotions and the flood of emotions that came through, I released all that. Continued to work with Hape, which is absolutely, again, an amazing, grounding medicine. And just staying committed to the change that I wanted. Because outside of that, leading up to that, I was in an accelerated space of receiving little glimpses and little opportunities that kept coming to me, where it was like, okay, like we're going to redirect you, because I'm ending a long time career in cannabis. I've been in for 9 years now. And although there has been much growth in that space, my soul has been calling for more. I've outgrown my space. I absolutely appreciate everybody that I've been able to work with. Again, all the self-growth that's come from me in that space. But my soul was calling for more, to get back to my creative side, which being an artist, all that type of stuff, getting back to that and really just getting back to myself completely. So just honoring that and the intentions that I set initially.
Yeah.
Being very disciplined and still going through waves of like, what's going on? Like, but just staying in that space of surrender. And it's a beautiful thing. I'm very excited right now. Very excited for what's to come because I don't want to go back.
I don't either.
I can't go back.
I didn't come here to stay the same, and we didn't.
Yeah.
And integration is so important. How you ground the insights and the wisdom and the lessons that you learn and that you receive, because you're an open channel. Like you said, the lessons continue to pour out, the opportunities. It's going to ask and show you, like, are you legit? Are you for real about this? And it's going to, here's something I've said on the show before, but there's a difference between understanding something and learning something. Understanding is something you can understand the insights and lessons that you just received, and understanding happens on a cognitive level. Learning something is reflected in changed behavior. And after something like this, it's important to be aware of the power of your choices and the behaviors that you continue to go back to, or if you make new choices and you start to set up new routines and new habits and just doing what I call practicing the opposite, doing the opposite of what I would have typically done in the past, the old version of me. So if I would have hid, the new opportunity is to be vulnerable and to open. Yeah. If I would have closed, if I would have become, judgmental, I bring acceptance. If I were typically to like isolate myself in these moments, like I know I need connection. So part of that is just like establishing new routines and habits and making new choices on the other side of these lessons and insights, and having community. Alex and I are so grateful and so blessed to have the Wolfpack, shout out Wolfpack. To our spiritual community and family here in Vegas that support us, and that we can share our experiences and be like, listen to this, and this is what I'm learning, this is what I'm growing through, and help us and assist us in our integration. But we understand that like not everybody has that. Right. And it's pivotal. It's been so instrumental in my growth journey. And so one of the things that you and I are super committed to is like opening that up for people and giving people a community that they can lean on. Yeah,
it's huge. Because out there in the world, you're impacting people whether you realize it or not, right? And then being in a space of people that are committed to their own self-growth, it's a game changer, absolute game changer. It's definitely, again, accelerated my healing as well. Not by my own choice, but just having people to sit there and pour into you. It's so important to have people express to you like what you really embody. And it's life-changing.
One of the things we've started to establish in the Wolfpack, we've probably talked about this on this show before, but it's our local Vegas community. And one of the things we've implemented is reclaiming love bombing, where we'll be like, let's love bomb Alex today. And everyone in our community will just pour out their love on him and reflect back to him who he is and how much they've impacted, and share stories about how he's changed their life and the things that, he isn't even aware of that have made a difference for people. And it's been such a beautiful healing thing to, one, intentionally love the shit out of people and like let them know how amazing they are, and how much your confidence in your self-belief is strengthened in hearing that. Because I think so often in our lives, we wait until someone is dead, or we've lost someone, or the relationship is over, to tell them what we appreciate about them. And in our community, like, we're definitely flipping the script on that and making that a practice. And so if you guys are like looking, if you're in Vegas and you're looking for that, please reach out to us. But two, if you are doing, whether it's with us in ceremony and with our community, or in your own life and in your own journey, you are working with these medicines and you need a place to integrate and come and talk about your experiences, because the last thing you want to do is isolate yourself. you want to be in circles with people who can help you understand what you just experienced, because it can be very confusing if you've never worked with this before. And so we're going to be offering places to do that. We're going to be starting a monthly psychedelic integration call where we share and hold space for people to come and express their their questions, and also share their journeys and help clarify some of those lessons and insights that come through to you. So if that's something that really interests you and you don't have that, please DM me. Send me a DM on Instagram or Alex, and I'll share his Instagram too. And just put integration. If you're looking for integration support around psychedelic therapy and using psychedelic assisted journeys and medicine, then that's what we want to offer you guys as a place to do that, is a continual place to continue to grow and ground yourself.
Yeah, super important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And more to come with Alex.
Yeah.
He and I are going to continue to do this work together. If this is like sparked your interest and you have questions, we want to talk to you. We want to answer those for you, because we understand that there's not always a safe place to come bring your questions around this stuff, because we understand it's taboo. We understand that people, when I first started hearing about this, I had no idea who to ask. I had no idea. I was so afraid of getting in trouble. There are ways to do this safely and legally. So please talk to us, and we can assist you in your journey and finding places that make sense for you to explore this work.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Any final thoughts that you have that you want to share before we go?
If you feel called, take the dive. Mm-hmm. That's like the wrap up right there, and show up for yourself. Do the work that you need to do in order to show up.
Yeah.
And whatever vision you have for yourself in your life, get after it. Mm-hmm. Absolutely get after it, because time is short for now. Absolutely infinite beyond us. It is short. But it's time to level up.
Yeah, it's your soul's calling. And it's up to you to answer that call or stay where you are. And you come here to grow. You didn't come here. That was one thing I learned. We didn't come here to stay the same. Mm-hmm. We didn't come here to be the people that we were. I'm not the person I was last year, 10 years ago. I continue to change, and I continue to change my mind. The things I used to believe, I have new beliefs, and I want to continually change and evolve and grow and expand my consciousness and my awareness and release the things I'm afraid of and hold space for more truth and love. And that's the work that we're committed to. So on the other side of that, outside of the medicinal ceremonial work that we're doing, if you're just looking for community in general, if you just need to be supported and you want to start to surround yourself with like-minded people who are on the personal growth path, I do offer a weekly call called The Huddle, which is an amazing community of people who are getting together every single week to share their experiences and what they're going through and how we can help each other. And because this work is not meant to do alone. So if you're looking for that, make sure to go check out The Huddle, torigordon.com/huddle. You can sign up. It's a monthly membership. It's $97 a month. You can join us every single Monday. And if you can't join us live, you always get those recordings. So don't allow yourself to stay isolated and feel like you're the only one doing this work, because I promise you, you're not. And we would love to support you. So make sure you go check out The Huddle. You can cancel your membership at any time. We would love to support you in that container as well. But I would just like to mirror what you said. It's like, if you're feeling stagnant, if you're feeling stuck, if you're feeling lost, there is a path forward. There's a path out of that confusion and that darkness and the pain that you have been in and been holding on to, even if you don't know how it's consciously affecting your life or your relationships or the amount of money you're making or your career. There's more fulfillment, more love, more life that's available to you. And my invitation is to step into the unknown, because it's there that you'll find everything you're looking for, and all of that is within you. So I hope that you will take our stories and, our experience and let it inspire you, let it empower you to find the courage within yourself to do the work that your soul's calling for. and we're here to support you in that journey.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. Where can people find you and connect with you online?
You guys can reach me directly on my personal. It's Light Warrior 7778 on Instagram. And then also my media photography page is lightwarrior.creative.
Yeah, we'll put all of that in the show notes to make it super easy to connect with Alex and everything we're working on. We've got some really exciting Las Vegas events coming up on 4/20, and we just co-facilitated Revive Breathwork for the first time. We had a sold out, packed out room here in Vegas for some psychedelic breathwork and embodiment. We'll be doing that monthly. So if you want to stay connected with us and what we're doing here, please, please, please contact us to get in our DMs. Make sure that you're getting our emails. You can go to my link in my bio and connect with me so many different ways, but we want to make sure you're part of our community so you don't miss out on anything that we're doing. That's it for today.
Yep.
Thank you for letting us share our hearts with you and the things that we've learned. And although we've been on this path for a while, it feels like it's just the beginning of so much to come. So I'm excited.
Very excited.
Yeah.
Appreciate you for having me on.
Of course. All right, guys. Until next week, we'll see you on the Coachable Podcast.